Just getting this all set up. I can't get it set up properly. A different way. Do, 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 do. Looks better. Do, 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 do. Always takes a little bit to get it set up when I'm set up for streaming on the PS5 instead of PC. Wait a sec, I'm not hearing anything. Something else? Yeah, I'm not hearing anything through Discord. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Cool. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
Cool. Excellent, excellent. Good, 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 good. Well, it's exciting. Find out what happens. Are we getting any raids and dungeons as part of the acts rather than seasons?
Yeah, I think we'll get a dungeon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect a raid, considering that we've not long had one with Starvation.
Well, not necessarily this act, but I mean going forwards. How are they going to
Yeah, I mean, this act, we kind of need a dungeon. If it's not this act, then it will most likely be Act 3 or Episode 2 of 1.
We kind of have a dungeon. Kind of.
Your Destiny, you think that? I don't think that's a dungeon.
But it's
exotic
not
quests and dungeon are their own things.
I don't know. They may say that we got that instead. That's my thinking.
If so, I'm going to be very unhappy about that.
Well, they might add one because a dungeon is it's paid content, isn't it?
Yeah, because it always goes dungeon, raid, dungeon, raid, dungeon, raid. Because I'm logged into Destiny now, because I've got Echo's live stream up on Twitch at the moment.
Here it is. I think it's no longer saying starting and it's moved to something. Or maybe it's not. Looks like it started. It changed.
But yeah, it's been like we've had one season where it's here we go. Got it now.
Here we go.
Hello everyone, and welcome. Good morning.
Oh, I can hear yours echoed.
To you all, and welcome to a beautiful balmy day here in beautiful Bellevue, Washington. Here
you hear it now?
HQ. Didn't realize it would be that alliterative. Welcome to
I'll mute mine then.
Go ahead and showcase a little bit of what's to come in Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But very briefly, before I go ahead and kick things off, the eagle-eyed guardians among you have probably noticed a little QR code down here in this general direction. If you go ahead and give it a scan, our friends over at the Bungie Foundation are going to be running a 7th Column Chaos Tournament, and you have a chance to get involved, help them raise some funds, and do some good.
It's all right. I've got my headphones in my laptop.
Give that a scan, learn a little bit more about what they got. Maybe give them a follow on Twitter while you're out there. They've got a lot of cool information that's on the way. But speaking of cool information on the way, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today, we have the distinct opportunity to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the stuff that's going to be arriving with Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But worry not, as always, I'm joined by an all-star cast of guests here from the Bungie development team. I'll go ahead and dive right into it, starting with the individual right here to my left, the incomparable Allison Lures, narrative director here at Bungie. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. Thank you for asking. No one ever asked me back.
More people should.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. For the uninitiated at home that may not have met you or are just kind of meeting you for the first time outside of the Vidoc potentially, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie?
Yeah, my name is Allison Lures. I'm the narrative director for Destiny 2. It's my job to work with the team that creates our stories and characters. We're in charge of making you cry and feel things.
I have cried a lot in our game, so thank you.
You're welcome.
You and yours are doing some heavy lifting.
You're
Even
welcome.
my black and dead heart has gone ahead and had some feelings. So
happy to be of service.
We appreciate it. And of course, sitting right next to Allison is the one and only Mr. Ryan Harris, Senior Activities Designer here at Bungie. Ryan, welcome.
Hey.
For the folks that also may not have met you or have probably played your activities without realizing it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here?
Yeah, so my name is Ryan Harris. I'm a senior activity designer here at Bungie, and folks may know me from Season 20 Battlegrounds, 7th Inspire, and yeah, I work on the Vanguard seasonal team, making the activity content folks play day after day.
Excellent. I've spent a lot of time at Sabbath Inspire, so thank you for your hard work.
Welcome.
And of course, next to him, friend of the show. If you've tuned into our Into the Light streams, you've met him before a couple of times. The one and only senior design lead here at Bungie, the one and only Chris Proctor. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks, Andy. How are you today?
I am doing so good, thank you. Everything's coming up Millhouse. This is going great. For the folks that may not have had a chance to tune into the previous streams, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie.
Yeah, folks might be familiar with my work on the weapons team. I was weapons feature lead for 4.5 years. I'm now the sandbox craft lead on Destiny, which means I help out the sandbox team with any issues they're facing and help uphold that critical sandbox quality bar.
Yeah, it's an exciting one to dive into.
James,
so
you just
thank you,
gifted
Yours,
a
for all
bunch
of
of
your hard
subs.
work.
Cool.
Now, let's go ahead and get ready to go ahead and dive into some stuff about Act 2. But first things first, we've obviously been listening to the feedback of our fans, in particular, the kind of weekly rollout of all the different stuff that's happened through Episode 1. With Episode 2, you guys are looking to try something a little bit different. Isn't that right?
That's
Allison?
right. Yeah, we've been listening to the fans and listening to feedback, and
Or
we
a change.
agree it's time for a change. So we're going to do a trial of something new in Act 2. We're going to be dropping all 3 beats of the acts at
Oh,
once.
shit.
So we'll be dropping all the 3 beats for Act 1 at the same time, all the 3 beats for Act 2 at the same
Interesting.
time, all the same beats for Act 3. And the goal is to encourage players to play at their own pace, to get all of that content at once if that's what they're looking for,
Yeah.
or to meter it out over whatever pace they want
Oh,
to play
God.
at.
You
But
and I
we're
know
gonna give it a
exactly what
shot
we're
in
doing now.
in Episode 2.
Excellent. That's right. Yeah.
See how it goes over.
Yes, definitely. And to that same end, when Episode 2, I did it too, rolls around, make sure and let us know what you guys think. But whether you're a Netflix-style binger like myself, or you want to go to the comic book store each week to go ahead and pick up the new issue, there's going to be a chance.
That's
to
a
dive
good
into
way
whatever
of
you want.
putting
However
that
you
as
want to
an
experience
analogy.
it,
It's a
up for
very
you. But make sure to
decent way
read
of putting
it.
it.
More about it is going to be in the TWID this week.
Excellent. Okay. Make sure and tune in. We'll have plenty more information on the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at also what got us here today. So we're still in Episode 1, Echoes.
Yep.
Act 1 has kind of concluded its main story beats. For those at home that may not have had a chance to play through or may have some questions about the story, would you mind catching us up to what events got us here today?
Sure, we'll do the short version. Great news, the witness is dead. We did
We
it.
did it.
Yay! And the
Jazz hands,
episodes are
great.
all about the consequences of where we killed the witness
Yeah.
and how. So when we killed the witness, all of that darkness, all of that memory, all of that energy collided with the light of the traveler. And so all of the memories that were inside of the witness, which is not necessarily exclusively the precursor beings that are inside of it, collided with the light of the traveler and made matter out of those memories. We call those echoes. And one of them launched out towards Nessus. And so we followed it to try and investigate, see what this thing is. And when we got there, we managed to reunite with Failsafe, who you left. You abandoned her. She's okay with
I do
this
feel
because
personally
she's
responsible.
chill,
Okay.
just so you know.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness. Thank you.
She's very happy to see us.
We're happy to see her.
And we're happy to see her.
Yeah,
so
I'm
we've
happy
been
to speak to
exploring through
Failsafe
Nessus,
again. I can't lie
and
on that
initially
one.
things are pretty fun. What a fun, cool, lighthearted adventure.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Of course not.
Of course
when
not.
Failsafe's around.
And the act ends with getting a little tease of like, oh wait, this isn't going to be a strictly lighthearted adventure. Saint gets kidnapped, more than kidnapped, kind of body controlled away from the rest of the group. And as he's taken away, this being called the Conductor is interrogating him and demanding to kind of understand whether or not you are real, like whether Saint is the real Saint or not. It's unnerving and kind of weird, and the vibes are only going to get darker from there.
Even better. Given that Saint has a rich history with effects, I'm sure everything is just going to go nice and peachy keen. and easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. No,
So-
of course not.
And so now that we've washed away that veneer of everything's going to go great, Act 2 now is
Yes.
arriving as well. Now, there's plenty of stuff for folks to dive into, but as we go ahead and kick things off here with Act 2, can you give us a little bit of a tease of what we're going to be checking out?
Yeah, what Saint heard when he was being kind of controlled really got to his head. We are going to be watching him wrestle with some questions that he's never asked himself before.
Yeah.
And as we are trying to understand more about this Conductor that he has encountered, we are also going to be going back and revisiting one of Destiny's most storied locations very briefly.
Ooh.
So the lore hounds
Very
out there are going to
briefly.
have a chance to feast.
They're going to have a delicious time.
Excellent. Bife, you're welcome. I don't know if this will warrant another 10 hours, but we'll leave that up to you.
I got you.
Definitely the Infinite Forest. It's
Okay.
got to be.
And now that,
Exactly what I'm
that gives us
thinking.
the structure for what we're about to dive into, but we have now the new activity that'll be arriving as well. We're going to go ahead, we have some gameplay here to go ahead and dive into with the Echo Battlegrounds, the new 3-player activity. Ryan, do you mind kind of telling us a little bit about what we're going to be checking out here today?
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be taking a look at one of the
Collect
three
gun.
battlegrounds that players will be engaging with.
That is a very nice.
So the first
That's
battleground
got to
here
be a
starts
sidearm.
in the
It's
center
a
of the
rocket
Flames
sidearm.
on Nessus, of course. And
Oh,
you
I
run
love these
through
new rocket
the Royal
sidearms. I
Flames,
love
checking
it.
out what's going on here as the Fallen have kind of like
Yes, it
started
looks
hanging
like.
out and investigating the well for themselves.
Yeah.
So players really here
Looks
is,
like it's a solar
seeing,
one.
Noticing that the radial area of this lake has been drained.
is.
A lot of the areas kind of like revamped and like regenerated itself to something new. And players will be looking at the story of like, where is this radial area going? Where is it
We've reached the
flowing
100
through?
hype train.
So for Battleground 1, you're kind of like finding out and like locating where all this radial area is going to.
Yeah.
Battleground 2, you're seeing the actual flow and direction of all the radial area to the center of Nessus. And Battleground 3, you're actually seeing like where it's being directed to. So it's really trying to tell that story about the journey to the center of Nessus.
Very exciting, yeah. So they all kind of have a way of interconnecting with each other as well. Also, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Obviously, the Vex have been our primary antagonist through this, but the entrance here is being guarded by a pretty heavy contingent of Fallen. Who are these Fallen, and what are they trying to do here?
Yeah, I can give a relatively boring answer, but I believe Allison can give a much better one.
Thanks. Yeah, the Fallen are here because they're after the Echo too. We want to think of these Echoes as kind of an arms race.
Yeah.
In the absence of the Witness, there's a giant power vacuum that has formed where there's no one in charge who's going to come out and take it on top.
Yeah.
So the Fallen are here. They're chasing down the Echo as well, and they're encountering the same thing that we are in that the Vex aren't really acting like the Vex normally do here.
Yeah.
We're seeing some Vex start to act less like a collective and more like individuals. There's one really fun lore tab where one of them waves at us.
Yeah.
So we're encountering mostly Vex, but yeah, also Fallen are here too.
It's cool to see the Vex undergo such a change. Like they've been more, I think you were saying like individualistic in kind of a
Yes.
weird way, which is like the one thing the Vex don't
Totally.
do. Yeah.
It's the one thing that they don't do,
Yeah.
which is why it's super weird that they're doing it here.
Yeah.
And yeah, in Act 2, we're going to be able to see a little bit more of why they're specifically doing that.
Very exciting. Awesome. Plenty to dive into, and also with these battlegrounds as well, Ryan. I know we were talking a bit before the show, but it seems like the main goal here was just for you guys to push yourselves, to really push the boundaries of what battlegrounds have been. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were trying to accomplish with this new set of battlegrounds in Act 2?
Yeah, so for this set of Battlegrounds, it's definitely our latest and greatest iteration of Battlegrounds. As folks know, Battlegrounds consist of 2 encounters and a final boss encounter. So throughout the years, we kind of iterated on what a Battleground is and how closely it resembles a strike. And this set of Battlegrounds, I really wanted to push it to be like, what is a Battleground and what is a strike? I wanted to be almost one of the same. So with these Battlegrounds and stuff, I wanted players to, well, of course, have enough enemies on screen to slay out at all times.
Yeah.
We're definitely pushing the combatant counts in these Battlegrounds as high as possible, in some ranges of 40 enemies at a time on screen, which is quite a lot.
It's quite a bit.
But
Plenty for us to go.
Yeah.
Buddy. But that gives enough opportunity for everyone in the fire team to use all their abilities, use Prismatic to the fullest extent, and always use their super on cooldown or Prismatic on cooldown when the opportunity arises. I want players to feel like they can just do everything, and there's not just that one player soloing the entire encounter, so everyone is contributing to that experience.
Yeah, I can imagine too, even with the the expanded sandbox that's been brought to us with the new abilities by way of Prismatic, or even the new weapons, which we'll start to check out here in just a little bit. What were some additional ways? I can imagine it probably wasn't just even more, but you guys were saying you were trying to make some more of these mobs a bit more intense to go ahead and go up against as well.
Yeah. So with telling the story of the Vex are like evolving and changing, we've I went ahead and modified an existing Wyvern. I'm so sorry. So
How dare you?
You'll
Yeah,
engage
be
with
sorry.
these Wyverns in pairs, and they have a special new ability where they can teleport.
Fun.
And dodge around you, and
Yeah.
also
Great.
it's kind of
We get
scary.
a
Real nothing
Wyvern
personal
that's
moment.
like a Minotaur.
Behind you, right?
Yeah.
They certainly
Not
are
fun. Not
an
good.
active threat in the battlefield, and I wanted players to really be on the lookout.
At least he said
and
sorry
engage
because he
with
knows
them.
how much of a
Prioritize
pain
them
it's
as,
going to be.
that priority target
Yeah.
when they are seen.
Yeah, and that's something that's been neat. Like, obviously, players will have a chance. The first 2 of these battlegrounds obviously arrive with the first week of Act 2, with the third one hitting on the second week. But it's not even necessarily, I think, something that was really cool is you were mentioning earlier that you wanted to make these closer to a strike, or kind of blur that line. Even, the second battleground is kind of like all new experience in a lot of ways. It's not just going back to a part of the planet we've been to before with new foes, but it's a brand new experience.
The one thing that
Can
I'm
you tell us just, like,
liking
kind of
the way
putting
Bungie are
that
going at the
together, kind of
moment
creating
is
this journey to the center of Nessus?
how
Yeah,
we're
so
getting
we
more
want to first
content
well, on the
every
journey to the center of
episode
Nessus,
or every
and
app.
that requires
We're getting more and more and more
environment.
content to play
So
with.
everything
Yeah.
after this encounter onwards is just all new geo and layout. And
I
really trying
personally
to
think
live up
this is
to,
the
like,
most
our Battle.net
content
experiences
in-game we've had
that
for a
most folks know
long
from
time.
Battlegrounds. They usually run through
Just
a
have to see how it
patrol and,
pans out.
maybe a new boss space or just a new encounter space. These Battlegrounds really push the boundaries of, like, hey, this is all new. This is completely new, fresh. This it's kind of like a strike. It is a
Yeah.
strike, almost.
The bosses were part of that exercise too,
Yeah.
though. I think, like we were talking.
Oh, look
before,
at the
where it's
state of the
not,
screen.
just
Can't
of
see
taking
anything.
characters that you've battled before, making them tougher, but it's a brand new.
I've just tried
encounter,
seeing a
new
way to turn it
mechanics,
off
new
and you
kind of ways
can't.
to go
That's
ahead
the
and push further
problem.
into the boss fight. That's the most broad strokes way I can describe it. But obviously, as the man who designed it, can you tell us a little bit more about creating these new boss experiences as well for players during this act?
Yeah. So one thing back to, like, what players know from Battlegrounds is when someone plays a Battleground they come in groups of 3 or 4. Players are like, I know what to expect from this boss encounter. It's usually the same but similar boss encounters.
Right.
But for these Battlegrounds, they're all unique bosses. They're all different. They're all challenging in their own ways, and they're just very and just different, very different from one another. So that was the experience we're trying to hit here. Is players, when they jump into a Battleground, it's not going to be the same. It'll be different. The boss encounter will be different. We'll be trying to tell a story with the boss encounter that you're engaging with. Doling out immunity gates and engagements in that boss encounter in different ways, be it with just telling a story while you're engaging the boss, or like a damage window, or just no damage immunities at all, where the player is just engaging with a boss that has the largest health pool I've placed on a boss ever.
Maybe. Yeah.
For
We'll
now.
see. Plenty of chances to go ahead and test out those still hunt accuracy, or each individual's accuracy with still hunt, rather, I should say. I say that because I keep a shotgun on me for a very good reason. But no, there's obviously a ton of stuff to check out in that regard, but I think I'd be remiss if we didn't also talk a bit more kind of about what we're seeing on screen in some way. Is Chris, we've got some new weapons that are going to be arriving with this act as well.
We won't.
If you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of maybe even this one we're seeing here on screen? This is one of the new ones as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the Aberrant Action Solar Rocket-Assisted Frame Sidearm.
Or rocket sidearms. You love
Yep.
it.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, the first solar rocket sidearm, and it's a banger.
Yeah.
The roll that we're showing here is Heel Clip Incandescent, which is probably
That's what everyone wants. Heel
considered as
clip
a
incandescent.
super solar subclass.
Yeah, here we
It's
go.
definitely
The
that
best
does
one.
that. The best.
That
as I
looks
say, the art-
beautiful.
The weapons art team knocked it out of the park. This one in particular has some nice touches when you aim down sights with it.
Yeah, I like
Little-
that.
Cool little animation there.
I like the way it plays open like that.
Pretty neat.
It's going to be addictive, honestly. Got a very Vex Mythoclast feel to it, honestly.
The
There's some
core
other,
might be
interesting
dethroned
combinations as
already.
well. So I'm particularly fond of Pugilist and Demolitionist.
Yeah.
As you get kills so fast with these rocket sidearms that regenerating your ability energy as you're doing that keeps you armed to the teeth.
Yeah,
all the time.
but
Yeah.
heel clip and
Never hurts.
incandescent.
Incandescent.
In addition
So
to that,
good.
we've also got
Ridiculous.
a new Arc Heavy Burst Pulse Rifle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Corrasion Arc Heavy Burst Pulse Rifle,
Yeah.
another one in this seasonal set. And yeah, this is
Ooh.
Look at that
used
pulse
to
rifle.
this subfamily.
We haven't had a good arc
This is
pulse
the
rifle in
Runner Base.
ages, so this might
The
do
one we've
well.
got here, High Impact Reserve is left
Oh,
column.
Volt Shot and High Impact.
And Volt Shot right
Brilliant.
column.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong. I would also look at getting Frenzy right column. Because High Impact Reserves is great, but doesn't give you any stats. So having Frenzy gives you a bit of damage and those stats as well, and
Yeah.
very high uptime. Really great.
Yeah, I can imagine too in the era where pulse rifles are living through their anti-barrier era as well. It's probably not too bad to have one with that many stacked perks on it. Frankly,
Yeah.
Like, I can see Volt Shot doing a lot of untold damage just behind enemy lines pretty rapidly with that guy.
It's a pretty juiced in PvP as well. Definitely
Yeah.
to pick up.
Ooh, good point. Yeah.
Mm.
Headseeker fans rejoice. Potentially. And then in addition to that, an
Oh,
old
yeah.
is going to be making its return. Saint's tried and true favorite shotgun. Perfect Paradox is coming back as well from Season to Dawn.
Yeah, Perfect Paradox is back, along with a bunch of other Dawn weapons. This is
It's a
the one
very,
with
very
the
good
big
shotgun
act.
with the new
And yeah,
loot
all
pool
of
as
the
well
perks that
on
you know and
mods
love from the original,
and perks.
plus a bunch of new ones, plus the new Origin trait. Cast No Shadows, which if you're doing a melee build, just synergizes really nicely with it. So, Threat Detector left column, and then Trench Barrel if you're just doing damage with weapon, or 1-2 punch if you're doing a melee build. Yeah, it's a ton of fun and fits in really well with the rest of Saint's arsenal.
Recombination blow hunters are about to have a very good time. I can already tell, honestly, as if we weren't already. No, it's been great. So with some new additions to the weapon sandbox, there's also some new
a new row.
Pardon me, of perks unlocking on the seasonal artifacts as well. Isn't that right?
Right. Yeah.
I like
so,
that.
Each act we're adding a new row. So this is 5 new artifact mods. And with these, we're really leaning into sniper rifles and solar damage.
Solar damage. Oh god.
We'll bring this up in a second.
The fire team here obviously is a little bit of their hands full, and also everyone in chat, please give a shout out to Peyton, Mitch, and Justin here, who are doing the proverbial heavy lifting, carrying us through this activity as well.
Hell yeah!
Absolutely. So anti-barrier sniper is coming back. Personal favorite. Love this artifact mod.
There's been a lot of buzz about that, I think, when everyone saw it on the new seasonal artifact.
Yep, it makes it really easy to deal with barrier champions, and like you can also.
I like that for barrier. Sniper's brilliant.
I was so bad for the Hive Knights that set up so defiant with their shield, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, but this is not going to go well for you.
Yeah, and then scavenger mods, so you can keep those special ammo sniper rifles fed.
Yep.
Moving on, incendiary rifle rounds. Yeah, so. If you've got a solar sniper rifle, and I can think of a couple, we've seen Whisper of the Worm here, but there's also Still Hunt. This really juices those.
That's a good boss thing right there.
And then if we move on to the next one,
It was Still Hunt as well. That'd be ridiculous.
I know, it's deadly as hell.
Increased damage in a higher radius. Super strong. And not only that, but we're adding
at least the sidearm's craftable,
which increases damage with every precision hit. So. If you're landing like crit after crit on a boss with Whisper or Still Hunt or your favorite legendary solar sniper rifle, you're going to be, the damage output is going to be rich.
Let's just say, Whisper of the Worm mains are just going to be feasting.
Oh yeah.
Your next Excision run is about to be just a symphony of Whispers of the Worm, honestly. Which is not a bad way to spend some time. Also, this is as I was looking through kind of the additional buffs that were going to be added. So with the arrival of Act 2, obviously Solstice will be a part of that. And we'll touch on that a little bit later here in the stream. But with the arrival of Solstice, you guys are also working on a new balance update as well.
Yeah.
Covers weapons,
I want the
armor,
chest thing back at the end.
I'm going to go ahead and kick off with.
I want that one back. I don't want the bonfire.
As a Dead Man's Tale main, the Tex Scout rifles are getting a pretty solid PvE buff across the board. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we've seen that the legendary and exotic aggressive Scout rifles have been lagging a bit behind in damage output in PvE. So we're bumping that by 30%, which puts them like just ahead of the current leaders for Scout rifle damage output.
Yeah.
They're a ton of fun. Like they hit really hard.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Not only because I just like hip firing guys from across the map, but I gotta tell you, I'm looking for any excuse I can to keep dusting off Dead Man's Tail.
Yeah.
Fighting Lion has taken its place recently, but just as a temporary thing. It's okay.
He plays a Fighting Lion, seriously.
Aggressive Scout rifle, which you should keep.
I think you're a little bit behind me.
I haven't spent as much time with that as I ought to, honestly. I've been mostly hanging out with Lost Signal, speaking of Fighting Lion. But this isn't time for Andy to share his loadouts necessarily.
That's another live stream.
That's another live stream. That's right. Yeah, that's just me tweeting into the void and being like, "Fighting Lion." The Fighting Lion subreddit is probably very happy right now. So shout out to all of them. In addition to that, an old favorite of mine as well. Speaking of some of the classics, Ariana's Vow is going to be getting a pretty sizable buff against barrier shields as well.
Yeah, so we've had a bunch of changes to exotic weapons and how they interact with barrier champions. And Ariana's Vow fell a bit behind, so we've bumped its damage substantially at 67%. This means that in most difficulties it will break barrier champion shields in 2 shots, which makes its ammo economy like much more valuable.
Right.
And it had a pretty big rework recently. This just makes it that much stronger.
Yeah. Always a good time to go ahead and have that sitting on your hip, honestly. We've got some other weapon buffs. Any in particular that you wanted to speak to while we were here? Obviously, all this will arrive on Bungie.net later, but as long as we got you here, I'd love to hear if you got any more on your mind that you'd love to speak to.
Yeah, with the sniper rifle focus in this act, we really wanted to improve their ease of use a bit more in PvE. One of the biggest problems is when you're like trying to land crits on the Witness or something and you're taking a bunch of damage, you're getting flinched off target a lot. So we've gone in and halved the flinch from PvE enemies.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I'm also like little bit of foreshadowing, but we've gone in and removed the penalties from adept mods. And this is sort of setting the stage for a larger set of mods that will be dropping in a future release. Not too far out.
Yeah. The proverbial stay tuned for everyone out there as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, and also we were talking a bit before the show too, but there's going to be some armor tuning as well, isn't there as well to like the mods, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do a lot of raiding, you're
I
probably
know
familiar
that.
with the reserves mod swapping shenanigans that you can do, and this is just sort of fiddly and annoying for players. We don't think it's a balance issue, but it is irritating. We didn't want players to have to do it. So now when you switch your reserves mods back off, it'll bring your total reserves back down to their current cap. And to balance that out, we've increased reserves for special and heavy weapons across the board. It varies per weapon type, but it's in the 10 to 15% range.
Nice. Okay.
And in addition to that, if you do like running reserves mods permanently, we've reduced their cost by 1. You'll note that with some of the discounted mods from the artifact, like already reduced that to 1, so this would bring it down to 0.
Oh, really?
It's a pretty big change.
Very
Cool.
nice. All right. So build crafters, you've all been made aware. Now's a chance to start tweaking those variables in your spreadsheets across the board. Very exciting. Okay. A lot of stuff to dive into still yet, but we've also got a quick preview of some stuff that's
Oh,
gonna be
bring the
happening
old
with
Solstice
I
on
know
as well.
Our fire team is here hard at work in the background, but very briefly,
They
we want
won't.
to make sure that as a part of this show,
They are.
at the armor sets that are going to be arriving with Solstice. So,
They've got
as a
to.
reminder, Solstice is going to be hitting here with Act 2. Should be a pretty good time for you guys to dive into. We'll have more information soon, but you can take a look here and see
Ooh.
kind of the, I don't know, old-timey pilot race car driver. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just channeling my old inner race
I
car
like
driver
that
here,
Warlock
I
but-
can
one.
really
That's
see the
really
adventurer
nice.
influence
Yeah.
in this. That idea
Like
of
the
an
jacket and the
explorer
tie.
who's
Yeah.
going and delving into different.
Not sure about the
Yeah. Also
head
also the
though.
pants.
I was going to say, with boots like this, you're
Consider the pants.
Yeah, that's the only
like the
thing
first time
about
as a hunter,
that
I'm
one I
jealous
don't
of
like.
Warlocks. Congratulations,
Then use an
Warlocks, you did
exotic,
it.
exotic
Let's
mask
see,
instead,
up next,
innit?
we've also got our friendly neighborhood Titan.
But I
believe,
don't
rocking
like
some
the
of
chest armor
coolest
for that
helmets I've
that
ever seen
Titan
available
one.
to them.
No, the jacket seems
Once
to be
again,
cut off,
I'm
doesn't it?
thinking
It goes
it's a very
nowhere. It seems a bit
alien
short.
feeling, being jealous of Titans.
Not
Other
just
than that,
that,
that wouldn't be
it's
too
a bit-
bad.
Some of that feeling,
But-
honestly.
It seems a bit tight
Titans out
on
there.
the collars,
Start getting
like
transmos
it's
ready, but,
built in.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see start running around.
All right, Hunters are perfect.
Should be pretty solid. And then, last but very not least, my fellow hunters, we also are going to be
I
able to
love
go ahead and
that.
feast. We've got another.
I'm not
set
sure
of
about the
ornaments
short
coming our
jacket.
way. Again, really channeling kind of that adventurer style that they're really going for.
In my
to
opinion,
the
I love
Solstice
all of
in
that.
particular.
I'd change the
And
jacket
plus
out for a
expanded
different one.
sandbox of all the goodies that you folks have been working on to go ahead
Not
and have
that
us go ahead
pleased with that
and tear
jacket.
through it with.
Rest of it's
We are very
okay.
appreciative of it, but yeah, just kind of a quick look at what's to arrive with Solstice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of the main set of topics for today. We're going to go ahead and scan Twitch chat very briefly to make sure we can go ahead and grab any questions. But Ryan, honestly, we're now into, is this the second battleground?
Yeah, we're in the second battleground on the second encounter right now.
Yeah.
So what we didn't see previously was players were, when they finish the first battleground, the second battleground actually starts where the first battleground ends to
Yeah.
continue on your journey into the center of Nessus.
Yeah.
And that's the same for when you end battleground 2. That's where you start for battleground 3.
Very exciting. That's kind of cool, actually, having that, again, that journey to the center of Nessus. Sort of in that same vein, actually, one thing I've also kind of been wanting to ask selfishly is a wise narrative director once said that stories are told in 3 acts. Could you tell us a little bit about what this episodic structure offers you guys? Like, what are you able to try that's different?
So humans like stories that have shapes, right?
Right.
When we think of a story where you're kind of like in the same place, like doing the same thing, like sometimes we want to make sure that our stories feel like they have shape and momentum to them. For example, with episode 1, we can think of the shape of it kind of as starting in this place of really like lighthearted. It's a fun romp, it's a fun adventure, and
Yeah.
it slowly goes down
Yeah.
into a really dark place.
As all the doom happens in the background, we're having
Exactly.
fun with Failsafe.
We get to play with that play with those shapes and play
Yeah.
with that structure with each of our episodes. So in episode 2, in episode 3, it may start at different places and the energy may take you in different ways.
Yeah.
We got to really experiment and play around with what are we introducing narratively, which enables us to add things like a focus on Fate 14 for Act 2, or different ways that the battlefields may change as we're going through.
Yeah.
Humans like stories that have shape to them, and that's what
They like
a
shapes as long as it's not a
really,
final one,
well-defined
obviously.
act structure allows us to do.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, honestly, as we've just getting
Yeah.
started here in Echoes and with episode 2 on the way, but we'll talk more about that at a later date. Worry not. We've got plenty to dive into with Act 2 right in front of us. But as far as my agenda goes, I think actually we've thankfully hit kind of the primary bulk of the show.
Could I touch briefly on the ability stuff?
Please, yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been monitoring
Oh,
feedback
God.
in PvP around prismatic hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly the 2 pain points around swarm grenades and threaded spectre. So we're bringing both of those down into line.
Yeah.
We've also got a couple of PvE changes coming, and this is Titan stuff. It's sort of previewing some.
So they're
Titan
not
changes
gonna
that
nerf
are gonna
the-
come in future release.
Yeah.
Hunter
But
Super
we're
in
ramping up
PvP
the
then.
damage on
Which I was
Scorpion's
expecting him
Twilight
to
Heart
say,
Yeah,
but
that's what I
and Hammer of
thought.
Soul, so those should both be a lot more competitive.
That's right, yeah. Hammer of Soul Titans rejoice. Also, I selfishly like grabbing that axe from Twilight Arsenal, so if those could keep existing, I'd be a very happy camper.
Yeah.
Also, we got a question from chat. Freeboop asks, probably one for you, Chris. Are you guys still evaluating the interactions of the combo on Edge Transit, or will you swap from Envious Assassin to Cascade Point and a 24 magazine while you still have Cascade Point?
Yeah, so we mentioned a few weeks back that we're going to be adjusting that. It ended up needing a code change, which is typically a little bit slower to roll out, but that fix is still coming. So
Very exciting.
if you missed out on getting that that perk combination, that is not going to be an exploit that continues to work.
Excellent. Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Freeboop, for the question. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think thankfully that as we watch our steadfast group of Guardians go ahead and continue their way here through the Battlegrounds, I think that's kind of the high and low of our show, everyone. Of course,
There you
we
go,
want to go ahead and
Solstice
make
is still
sure
gonna be
as we
same old
dive
crap.
into the events of Act 2, as we go to prepare to conclude Act 1, we wanted to make sure that all of you had a sense of what was coming. And again, a reminder, this launches next week on July 16th. Quick reminder of the topics we covered. Of course, we're going to go ahead and remind you that the Bungie Foundation folks are doing some amazing work. Go ahead and scan that QR code and check out what they're up to. Otherwise, Act 2 arrives next week. With it, you'll have these 3 new Battlegrounds, 2 launching with the first week, the 3rd arriving on the 2nd week, new weapons joining the sandbox, new artifact mods for you to go ahead and unlock, and of course, Solstice will be joining us later on into the act. But otherwise, before we go, I of course want to make sure that we take a chance to go ahead and thank our amazing cast here. Thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about what's to come.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate the time. To our amazing team of playtesters in the background, Mitch, Justin, and Peyton, thank you very much for doing the proverbial heavy lifting. To the amazing team here, producers in-house, that go ahead and put this all on, thank you all so much. Honestly, we always appreciate it. And last, but of course not least, to all you Guardians out there, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We'll see you all very soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all Starside.
Interesting stuff. We shall have to see what happens. But still annoyed that they're going to keep Solstice. Such a crap event now. Then Halloween shit as well, so.
They feel like with Final Shape they need to revamp Solstice and Festival of the Lost.
Yeah.
Just-
and Guardian Games.
And Guardian Games, yes, because, well, Guardian Games has got one more year, but for Solstice and Festival of the Lost, they've been in the game almost as long as the previous ones for the Infinite Forest and the...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we need that
and
forest
the
back.
Chest Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been in game just as long as those. So if they... I feel like I wouldn't mind if we had a playlist for them, a random playlist.
Yeah.
That you could either get the bonfire or the chest run, or you could get Infinite Forest.
No, that
or
wouldn't.
the-
It wouldn't work because of the leaves you have to get for the bonfire. You don't get leaves in the chest one, so that couldn't work. And that's the trouble, is you can't have a mixture in the same way, because you haven't got the leaves that you have to burn and stuff. Then the bonfire makes no sense. But you can't have the leaves in the chest opening one. I just think they just need to get rid of the whole bonfire thing because it was shit.
Either that, or they make a new one for next year. Because if they Bungie definitely can put both of them into one, but make it as a whole brand new activity.
I just wanted the old one. I don't care about the bonfire one. I just wanted the old ones. You go around killing all the bosses because that was fun. The more you killed, the more chests you could open. I thought it was a progression, like with the Forest one. It was progression. You had to see how many levels you could get to, and it became something interesting. Whereas now, it's just the same old shit every time you play it. That's what's missing, is the progression. Thinking, oh, I could do more. Yeah, okay, for certain
Not just that, with
you can,
the forest, there was multiple routes you could take to get to a boss. So you can either go a hard route, which will give you one or two bosses, or an easy route, which will only give you one boss.
Exactly. It was good, much better. Right, let's end this up and then get on Destiny, and we'll grab a drink and get on Destiny. I think it'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yep, I'm already in tower, waiting for you.
I shall be there in a moment. See you in a sec.
See you in a sec.